all of the changes that you're going to see when you move from the older version of SAR Command Assist to the new version 7. So I've got them both here. I'm going to run them side by side just to show you what the differences are. I've got some other videos that go into these features in a little more detail, but this is a quick rundown here. So we'll start the old version up. You'll notice it's all SAR Command Assist Classic now, and you'll be able to keep running that side by side with the new one. There's a bit of an update on the logo and the icon just so you can tell them apart more easily. So right on the main screen, you're going to notice a few differences right off. First of all, this is spelt badly. You'll notice the little angry red lines there under spelt. That is the now built-in spell check. So sometimes it has helpful suggestions, sometimes it doesn't. But it will at least tell you when you've done something wrong. Another thing you'll notice right off is this little lock icon. So after I've entered all three of those pieces of information, about 30 seconds later, that will lock automatically, where you can click the button, and that just prevents you accidentally changing any of those fields. You can always unlock it to make those changes, but it just makes those changes more intentional. Next little change on the main screen here under Instant Action Plan. I just moved the Print Op Period button here. Normally it's just been hidden away up there on the menu, but it's somewhere on the main screen now. So print and same menu as before, and just like before, it opens up a PDF with whatever items you selected. And that's about it for the main screen. A few little things, but we'll get to those as we get to them. So next up under options, I've got a few new options for you here. So on the right here, we've got, first off, a lot more organizations. So if you're a member of SARVAC, for example, I've added in an entry for each province and territory, but we're going to stick with BC for now. The other option you'll see here on the first screen, I got rid of the option to use the old team assignment screen, but I added the ability to automatically add a rapid intervention team to each op period. So it just creates that team assignment automatically for you. Under comms, the only difference here is I've added a new sort of default comms function, which is the ICP telephone. More and more command posts are going to be situated in cell phone cover, so let's just give that option right there on the comms plan. Under print, the new option here is to add a blank page as needed to the team assignment packages to support duplexing. This really only comes up if you're printing more than one team assignment at a time, and I'll give a quick run of how that works later, but the option is there. And that's it for the main options. The other change in the options here used to be called Edit SAR Team Members, now it's just called Personnel. But the ability to import is greatly expanded. Before, it was really fixed to the export from D4H, which, as you know, occasionally changes, and not everyone using the software is using D4H. So now when you want to import members, you browse to a spreadsheet file, and then you can pick which column corresponds to each of these pieces of information. So a lot more power when importing, and similarly when importing qualifications. Again, you can pick which column you want. And on the note of qualifications, you'll see there, and here I've greatly expanded the list of qualifications tracked in the software. So we've added in different levels of first aid, rope rescue, swift water, mountain rescue, as well as a few additional qualifications on the end there. Those are mainly used when filtering people to put them onto team assignments and things like that. But let you track that information a lot better, and you can do that for everyone in the system, obviously. All right, I think that's about it for the options menu. A few other things may have been moved around slightly, but I think they'll be pretty straightforward. While I'm on it on options, I did add a few more templates as well. So I would suggest going to help, check for data updates, and just downloading all those updates. You'll get a bunch of new, few new team assignments and a few new objectives and things like that. All right, let's keep diving in here. So the briefing screen looks mostly the same. I did add a couple more automatic items in the template under command communications. I added a RADMS reporting requirement and a near miss and injury reporting requirement, so just to verbalize those during your briefing. But the more exciting thing I've added here is a feature you'll see on a few screens. So I'm just going to add some information here. B6CC, great, and hit save. And now I'm going to change that to add a bunch more information. Save, and so change it again, hit save again. So in the old version of the software, each of those changes would have overwritten the previous, and you'd have no way of going back to see the previous information. But now, this little clock button here, and you'll find that on a few screens, you can actually see every time this has been edited, time and the role of the person who did it based on that box there, current SCS role. And we can go back. So we can go back to that first save, revert, yes, and now we see that AA, BB. And we can go back to the second save. There's the extra junk. We'll go back to the third one, which was the final. So you go back and forth and back and forth. That should work pretty well. Yeah, hopefully it's helpful. Saving and printing works the same as it always did. You'll find that wind back feature on the safety plans, the subject profile, team assignments, and maybe one or two other places as well. Okay, moving right along. Incident objectives. This one's actually changed a fair bit. In the old one, you can add whatever objectives you want. Great. In the new one, very similar. You can add whatever objectives you want or create a new one. But you can also add strategies and tactics. So do a thing. Do another thing. And I've incorporated that into the pre-written ones as well. So if I go to add an objective, you'll see a lot of them now have add template strategies as well. And there's 3 of them. So continue investigation. When I add that, it automatically adds some pre-written ones. Similarly, if I want to reduce my search area, it's going to suggest some good ideas there. You don't have to keep those. If there are no impassable areas, you can just delete that one and everything else readjusts. And then when you print, you're just going to see it right there. If you want to edit your template objectives, you can just go down here under Edit, set objective templates, and now you'll see a count of how many strategies are associated with each of those. So deploy initial response teams. See all kinds of different strategies there, and you'll see once again the little angry red squiggle means we have that spell check. Yeah, so hopefully that is helpful. I think it's a big improvement. Comms plan is next. The main difference here is visual and sort of some changes on the back end. So it used to be you'd have this here where you've got the function down the left, and you can pick the system from a dropdown. It's going to work basically the same, but just entered a little differently. So now you go to add. You've got your pre-made channels up here. You can pick whatever functions you want or write a new one. indicate whether it's going to be used for aircraft, and add to the task. There it is. So, the information is going to come out the same. Either way, it's going to come out on that comms plan. Just a bit of a different way to go about it, and it's going to be a little quicker and a little more flexible as well. But just as before, there they are on the main functions, are there on the main screen, including the new ICP telephone function. That's about it for the comms plan. We'll come back to that aircraft thing in a minute. Medical plan, this one's got an upgrade on the interface as well. So as before, we can pick our rapid intervention team. That was automatically added thanks to the new option. You can pick your ambulance, pick your hospital, but now you can also add a first aid station. So, the place, and we've got those things there. So now when we print, there's the place and there's the abilities they've got. So not a huge change, but just fill that form out a little more completely. All right, the organizational chart. This one's another one that's gotten a pretty big change in how it's done on the screen. Just put them side by side here. I've never been super happy with how the org chart was done in the old version. It matched the standard form in our booklet, but it's a really big screen on smaller monitors. You had to kind of shrink it down and kind of pan around. And there's no flexibility, no ability to add additional roles. And I'm sure you've noticed the load time on it can be a bit rough. So here's the new one. It's displayed sort of this tree system you're used to if you're browsing files on a computer. You can expand and collapse them as you want to for clarity. But importantly, you can also add additional roles in as needed. So I added GIS specialist as a default one, but if you want to add another role into the planning section chief, say they need an assistant, great, just add that in. I can add another one here, say we also want a technical specialist. So we've got a search and mountain rescue environment. We want a mountain rescue person in the planning section to help put those assignments together and whatnot. So add that. And we can assign these. Right now they're all unassigned, obviously. Planning section chief, and just assign the role. It's all the people saved in the system or who have been signed in. So just put me. And for my assistant, we will use Jim Jimerson. And so on and so forth. You'll see they're now nice and bright and bold and have the person's name, so you can see pretty clearly which roles have been assigned and which ones haven't. When you go to print, looks pretty much the same, a little bit different, add a little bit of color. But where that complexity had been added in the planning section, see it's now me, but also see page 2. There's page 2 with those new roles that I added, and it will just automatically add additional pages like this one for subsequent as needed. You'll also notice a little bit of a change here. I just changed that to instant commander, bracket tasking for the tasking agency, and bracket SAR for the SAR manager typically. That's just to fall more in line with ICS Canada terminology. All right. So I think that's about it. You can remove roles as you need to. So if we don't need that technical specialist anymore, you can remove them. You can export this whole thing to a spreadsheet if that's a thing that would bring you joy in your life. There's an exported org chart. And finally, you can print it on an ICS 203 as well if you want more of a list-based approach rather than the more visual approach used by the org chart. Whew. All right. That's a change I've been wanting to make for a while now, and I'm glad I finally had the chance to do it. The downside, of course, being that that's one of the reasons this version is not cross-compatible with the old version. All right, subject profile. Again, just a few differences there, mainly in just how the screen is laid out. You'll see this on a few pages now where they had big, long scrolling. So in the past, you had to scroll up and down, and now you've got tabs along the top. So you fill in this information here, and you can just hit next, 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 and then save. To fill in all the information hasn't changed at all. I did add that clock there, so you can go back in time. So we're looking for Bob Smith. He's 25. Save that. Then we decide, oh wait, Bob Smith is in fact male. Save. And now we can roll that back as well to the earlier one. And now that sex indication's gone. So that rollback feature should work pretty well for you. It's going to be handy to have that. Okay. We'll come back to the air ops plan in a second here. So let's just do checking in. So this screen hasn't changed a ton. Oops. Looks pretty much the same as it did. The only difference is to support those new qualifications. You can now, rather than these little tick boxes, you just pick which qualifications you're looking for. So we only want people with GSAR and a 7-hour first aid, or we only want team leaders or SAR managers, whatever the case may be, you can just pick it from the list there. You can add multiple filters, so if you only want people who are both GSAR and rope, well, there aren't any right now. You can also do any of the following. So for example, if you want to find all the trackers, you can say I want the track aware, the trackers, and the advanced trackers, and then say any of the following, and there's 2 people who have one or more of those roles. So Jim here has track aware, and I have a typo. Okay. Yeah, that's about it for the check-in screen. Okay, almost there. So air ops. This is not a screen that was on the program before, but this is one I've taken from ICS Canada. So this is a way of tracking various things related to air. So we've got our air ops branch director. We can add additional roles under that if we need to, like heli base manager, et cetera, et cetera. We can assign those roles to people if we want to. Jane in charge of the helicopter mess. We can add any frequencies we want. Again, as you're adding frequencies, you can just indicate, all right, well, that's going to be the AirNet, and yes, we are going to use that item for aircraft. There's a little reminder there. And then add to task. So there we go. You can add aircraft that are on the task. So if you've got some pre-saved ones in your area, pilot today is Laura. All right, start and end time for that aircraft and add the incident. Or we can add a new one ad hoc as well, of course. Additional remarks, etc. You can do a NOTAM if that's a thing you need to do. That's pretty unlikely in a SAR situation, but you never know. So there you go. There is an air ops summary, which is ICS 220. Again, noting our aircraft, noting our frequencies, who's involved. I think you'll find this handy if you have more than one aircraft involved in a situation, as we do sometimes in larger searches. Keeping track of the helicopter's call signs and the pilot's names and all that stuff. So hopefully that is handy. All right, I think this is the last significant change. Team assignments. So a few little differences in how this screen is laid out. Mostly I just organized the buttons from the bottom there. And I've given you access to that add blank pages as needed for duplexing. I've also created an assignment defaults. So if you're making a bunch of grid search assignments, for example, We know we want them all spaced 12 meters apart. You can just set those defaults, and now when you go to create a new grid search, under statistics, you'll find the default there and the default there have just been applied automatically. That'll speed things along. While I'm at it, this screen again looks a little bit different. Before I had some of the options along the top and some of the options along the side. I just kind of moved them all over to the sides there, so all in one place. Team members hasn't really changed. Works the same way it did before. The assignment type, I've added boat, off-road, and CDFL hoist, just to, again, leverage those new qualifications that have been added. Communications is exactly the same. I just moved it to a different place. And print options, again, they were already right there. I just moved them to a different place. So nothing much has changed. It's more just about organizing things in a way that's a little more consistent. And again, we've added that reversion button so you can revert back to previous versions of the assignment. So if we edit it up now and add some more junk and save and edit again, we can now wind it back to that original version without the junk on it. And yeah, when you've got multiple assignments here, if I print one page, page 1, page 2, page 1 again, and a briefing, and a subject profile is 5 pages in the PDF. Normally, when in the previous version, if you did that and printed 2 assignments at once, it would put the first page of the second assignment on the back of the last page of the first assignment. Now with that duplexing option enabled, it's going to be page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, automatic blank page, and then the new assignment. So you can just toss it through a printer that's got that print on the back feature. All right, I think that's the main differences. There's some back-end differences, but in terms of the user interface and the buttons you're going to be pressing, I think that's it. Hopefully you find the features to be a big improvement. They're going to add some new options and some new power and just make some things a little easier. I look forward to launching this really soon, and yeah, hope you enjoy it.